Hello and welcome to Life's Eternal Glamour. I'm Anabella Corro, and I'm inviting you to learn about my book, a book that I've written about my life, my journey as the first Mexican Vogue model, and as a rock and roll muse. Well, I've written this book because I want the young people to know what an exciting time I've lived, how there was a great journey to be had, and how my generation was changing the world through music and fashion. I've written this book because I was, at the age of 14 and a half, met Eric Burdon of the Animals and was legally adopted by him. Well, I was taken in his legal custody to be able to travel the world with him, and he wrote that famous song, Spill the Wine and Take the Pearl, about our relationship. As I traveled the world and lived with Eric, I met all the rock icons of that time. I was in the presence of Jimi Hendrix just before passing. I had a moment with Jim Morrison, who was an incredible poet and an incredible man of such heart that I do believe that rock and roll killed him. Well, I also, when my heart was broken by Eric Burdon, I was living out in West Hollywood, and through this beautiful woman named Haji, I met Jackson Browne. And Jackson Browne today is an activist, one of the poets of this time, and he is considered like the boy wonder of poetry and love, and still relevant today. He travels the world. I was just with him recently, and I gave him a couple of chapters of the book, and he was kind of excited to see that I had recorded that time of us together. So being rather exotic, because I am Mexican Danish background, I had to find my way in fashion in Europe, because living in Hollywood, somehow I was too exotic. And so I made my way to Japan, Tokyo, and then my way to London. And London embraced me like nobody. Within the second day I was there, I had the top agent immediately told me I had 3 assignments that next following day. And I started to work with people like John Swinnell, who today is the royal photographer for the Queen of England. So I was able to work with the great designers and do Vogue, Harper's and Queen, Ritz Magazine, which was owned at that time by Andy Warhol, and just be able to work with some of the greatest designers, stylists, and just be able to make my mark in fashion. Then I met Clive Aerosmith. Clive Aerosmith is, he was a rock photographer, and he made Twiggy and Verushka, Raquel Welch, many of the beauties that were older than I, but he took me on also, and we did some wonderful projects together. In fact, this was the campaign for Olympus Camera that went around the world. And he also did the cover of Paul McCartney's Band on the Run. So he was an incredible person to be working with. After that, I also was working in Hollywood just a little, not that much, and then I did the cover for an incredible vintage book about all the fashion that had gone on in the 20s in Hollywood. So I was able to really, sink my teeth into a time of fashion and becoming a rock and roll muse, and of course going through the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I feel that the youth today needs to know about this time, how my generation opened the door for you guys to express yourself in the manner that you do today. I also find that the fashion that we created then is relevant today. All the young girls are wearing the fashion that we wore then. So in my book, This Incredible Journey, I share about heartbreak, about what it was like to be unique at that time. Now, amazing now, if you're not exotic, you're not on the cutting edge. But I, at that time, had to fight my way through to sit there and make a mark and let them know that I was worthy to be in those covers, to be, working with. So after heartbreak with Eric Burdon, heartbreak with Jackson Browne, I decided to take the world on and become the first Mexican Vogue model. In this journey of my book, I'm inviting you young people to have a sense of history, to know why we did what we did at that time, and how we took the mind-expanding drugs. But it was all about love and peace. We really meant it. So we want the young people to know why you guys listen to our music today, why films are being made about our time. And this book that I have written, where I talk about my life's journey, I want to be a film. I think it's a film. And I have many, many, many questions that are answered in this book. Now, as I was working in London, I had the privilege to work with Tony Scott and Ridley Scott and became the Turkish Delight girl. Turkish Delight is owned by Cadbury, which is like the Hershey's of Europe, of England. And I was able to work with this guy who said to me that he felt that I had a universal look. And they took me on too, and I was very grateful that Tony Scott and Ridley Scott worked with me. They owned RSA at that time, and we did this. We traveled to North Africa to do this incredible commercial. But you know, in England, when you do a commercial, it's like a film. It was really a mini film. So the book shares my life, my journey, my relationship with love, sex, how I lose my virginity with Eric Burdon, who, you know, was well known as being one of the rock icons, part of the British invasion, and also a sex symbol in his time. So I invited you people to come in, check my book out, and I think you will love and get a big kick out of this great story. Life is eternal, and glamour is eternal. I'm Anabella Corro. I hope that you'll love the book. Ciao.